with Mark Pellegrino, who's in Montreal. And why don't you tell us first what you're doing in Montreal right now and what you're shooting?
I'm doing a TV show for the Sci-Fi Network called Being Human. It was originally a BBC show, and I think it's still going on. And I think they're in their third season right now, and we're picking up and doing an American version of it. So it's using the old show as the kind of template to jump off from, and there's a lot of original stuff unique to this show that you don't see in the BBC show as well.
Can you tell us what the premise of the show is and the role you play?
Yeah, the premise of the show, it's an interesting question, is a vampire, a ghost, and a werewolf living together as roommates, and how that dynamic works out. And I am the vampire who turned the vampire roommate way back when in ancient history, and I'm the vampire boss of Boston.
Okay, and it's this show, by the way, is going to be on the Space Network, which is the Canadian version of Sci-Fi. So okay. Canadians will be able to see it. I believe it starts airing in January. How have you enjoyed being in Montreal?
Love Montreal. It's great. The food is amazing. The bagels are amazing. They were legendary, and they're great. I'm loving it. But I have to walk around the city a lot. I don't have a car, so
yeah.
I get to experience it firsthand.
Have you been here before? Is this your first time?
First time.
Oh, okay. Because it has been, especially when the Canadian dollar was lower, there was like tons of movies being shot here.
Oh,
it's still pretty successful, but I guess if the show is a success, we'll have you back here again next year for further
Perhaps
filming.
You will.
Perhaps you will.
I have a feeling. It'll do well. I've seen some of the episodes, and they're pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. Now, of course, when we see you, you've had a lot of interesting roles, Dexter, Supernatural, but the one on Lost where you played Jacob has to be one of the most exciting roles you've filmed in your career.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, Lost was like doing a feature film every week. It's just high production, amazing scripts, very intricate puzzles for the fans to solve, and it was nice to be a part of that.
Are you kind of a moving target when you're walking around? You say in Montreal, people recognize you. I'm sure in LA it's even more so. Do people come up with all kinds of crazy Lost questions whenever they see you?
No, they just generally want to take a picture with me and touch me.
Yeah.
So that, or have me touch them,
yes.
So that they're part of the chosen. So that's pretty much the way the encounters go.
Are you personally sorry that you only joined the cast late in its run and maybe you could have gone a few more seasons?
Yeah, I mean, any project you work on for any period of time, you become kind of family, and it was so, especially with that show. It's such a deep dynamic, and I was sad to leave everybody, especially after I just forged relationships and gotten really close to a few people. But it's good that it is over.
You were telling me before about Jacob. You almost didn't audition for the role, and your wife played a role in convincing you to do so.
Yeah. I had 2 auditions that day in addition to that one. I didn't have enough time to prepare. It was 3 pages of sides, lots of dialogue. I thought I was going to go in there and blow it, so I said, no, I'm going to not go in and leave those folks with a bad impression. And my wife convinced me, and I went in feeling very unprepared, but as luck would have it, did a good job. And then 3 days later, found out I got the part.
And when you first started filming, you really didn't know, just like the fans and even the cast, where Jacob was headed and how key he was to the conclusion of the whole Lost storyline.
I had no idea.
And how weird is that?
It's pretty weird. I mean, that's the first time that's ever happened to me. Usually when you go into a project, you know the beginning, middle, and end, and you can somewhat prepare for it. I think the good part of it is it always kept you surprised and on your toes, and being in the moment, and not as an actor with this kind of actor parlance, not acting ideas. It kept you simple. So I think rather than acting this iconic 2,000-year-old man with all the answers, it was better not knowing and coming at it from a very simple and innocent idea.
Tell us.
Which I think ended up being the dynamic of Jacob. I think Jacob ended up being selfless and innocent and rather childlike in his origin story.
Yeah. Did you add anything yourself to the Jacob character? Was it exactly the way they wanted it? Did you come up with any ideas in any way, the way the character was presented to us?
We never really discussed it. I would do a scene, and sometimes Jack Bender would say, "That's right, Jesus the Carpenter. That's the way to go." So it was my rendition of Jesus the Carpenter.
Yeah. And were you surprised? For instance, maybe you can explain to us one question a lot of people ask. You were dead, but Hurley could see you, and then in that final episode,
this is going to get scary.
Everybody could see you. Everybody could see you, and no one could figure out why were people able to see you in that final episode. The whole cast, like they saw you.
And when the fire was
exactly.
burning down?
Yeah.
I don't know the physical reasons for it, but for some reason, metaphysically, me being in that fire somehow made me incorporeal, and everybody could see me. I don't know why.
What do you think happened? I don't know if you saw it. I got the DVD, and on the DVD they have that special 13-minute episode. Did you see it? The one that you never saw it? Okay, it basically shows you what happened in between that final episode where they all went to heaven, and when Hurley was made in charge of the island because Jack had died, and they went back and I won't ruin it for anyone who's watching this, but it was quite impressive. But what do you think the goal was in this whole series in terms of the ending? Do you believe that was their goal all along, to say that they went to heaven, that was the way the series was supposed to end, or do you think they were still toying around with that idea?
You probably have to ask Damon and Carl for that, because I have no idea if that was in the template from the beginning or not. If it wasn't, it was a piece of genius, I thought. It said some very profound things about redemption.
Yeah. And the characters, you chose Jack. Jacobs chose Jack. And do you think Jacob made a good choice? Because Jack didn't last very long in charge of the island.
He didn't. I think the choice was right. I think it had to happen that way. I think he had the most distance to come.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Jacob did. Very similar in some ways.
What was it like filming? I mean, this must have been difficult to film this show. I know you were in Hawaii, you were on certain parts of the island. The scenery was amazing, but it must have been some really grueling scenes. I mean, some of the scenes that were painful to watch. And how did you even film these?
Painful physically to watch?
Yeah, they were painful emotionally to watch. And I'm sure from an actor's standpoint, you were in some pretty intense scenes.
Yeah, and there were some physical obstacles to overcome. Like, we were in jungle area and with streams that have rocks in them. We had to run through those things barefoot, which is no easy thing. Believe me, it's quite a painful thing to act as if it's you've had feet that are used to walking barefoot for 2,000 years. And cold, lots of mosquitoes and stuff. So just those physical obstacles were daunting in a way. And the emotional stuff is always interesting on film, because film technology is very it's very anti-human connection. It's the setup is not geared for the human experience. So it takes a lot of concentration and a lot of work on the part of the actors to stay in tune with each other and be free enough to let their emotions happen with all the rigors that are going on around them.
When you stop shooting this series in Montreal, is there any other shooting you'll be doing? Any other movies or shows that you'll be working on?
We've got a couple of offers out. We'll see what I take. I'm going to take a break for a couple of weeks and hang with the family and celebrate Christmas. And then get back to work. I hope.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for visiting with us.
Thank you.
All right.